So a friend has asked, he is a purser, a puckerer, right? He's a puckerer on the harmonica. I just say puck. I say pucker, but people say purse, and you lip block. Who cares, right? So a friend has said, right, he's a puckerer predominantly. We'd love to tongue block, but all the time, but bending as has been an obstacle. Right. So there'll be a link below to Lee Sanky's video, which is about transferring the efforts of bending as a puckerer from here and your tongue. We talk hey, oh, and all that sort of key, coo, and things like that. John Jindig, Fat Lips, Key Koo, stuff like that, right? You'll come across all that. Will Wild, I've made a video about, which is, I believe, essential free resources to the journey of bending, beginning to bend and stuff like that. But they're mostly sort of puckering and these and all that. Will Wild, he's got a good video on it. But this is the whole thing going from puckerer to a tongue blocker. Okay, right. So what can I add to what Lee Sankey is talking about? So Lee Sankey's talking about, the almost like the energy that you use around here and the tongue doing stuff like this, to then moving it more back here, right? So, and he's also talking about you being a puckerer already. He don't mention it, but I've come to these understandings, right? The reason being is because you've already trained your ear, right, to know what a half step tone looks like, sounds like, right? So therefore, when you're trying to get it as a tongue blocker, you know what you're aiming for. And when you get it, you're like, right, well, I know what that is. Half step on a 4/4 draw. Again, it's like, well, my ear knows, right, getting there, nearly there, sort of thing. Yeah, something going on there. Yeah, I recognize that squealy racket because I did all that when I started puckering. Right, now just try and do it a little bit more and you're going to get there. You know you're going to get there. Your ear knows you're going to get there. So 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 if you're, a beginner tongue blocker and you've never puckered, then you're starting from fresh. The thing about, right, I'll get this out of the way as well. The thing about having been a puckerer, for some people it's been 3 months and then they've caught hold of this tongue blocking thing, and then they've been directed to some resources which then draws them away from the puckering so much and then into that realm of tongue blocking. Or some people go on years with puckering and then, or a year, even a year, and then, because you know about your harmonica stuff, a year of this, it is work, dedication and work. And then to be told there's this other thing going on, you're going to want to try it or whatever, or you're like, wow, I want that. It's like having to ride a bike, swim from scratch all over again. It feels like that. You've been set back. You've just done all that work. It can be. I'm saying it can feel like that, and it can feel quite daunting and scary because you've spent time in production mode. Yeah, producing things, creating things is godly, and it gives you endorphins, makes you feel good. Build a wall, makes you feel good. Right. There you go. So there's that issue. So it's for some people it can be like an obstacle to get over. It's just psychological for some people, but they don't know it. It's just, whoa, what's going on, sort of thing. For some people, all right, yeah, I could do this in 3 or 4 weeks, and I'll get there because I I've built a business. I know how to do things like that. I read a whole book in 4 hours, sort of thing. So I'm going to get there with this. But for some people, mental blockage. I get mental blockage with some stuff. I live with ADHD. Some things for me aren't that easy. Okay, especially things like scales and patterns. I'm forgetful, trying to all that. Right. Okay. So let's get back to the original thing. Right. So the other thing is, let me clarify. Right, a C harmonica, hole 4. Now, I was in a forum and one guy was like, I can bend other holes, tongue blocking, but hole 4, can't do it. He was like, can't do it. Been trying it for years. Right, for me, I got to hole 4 and it was my nemesis, and the C harmonica became my enemy because of the high pitch. Right? The reason being is because I could do this pucker. And to me, right, don't quote me on my bends. Like, oh, that's not that good or whatever. Whatever. I can do what I can do. If you watch some of my videos, I can play some nice music, but then with bending, I think I'm a bit harsh, and I need to slow down, be gentle, learn the light breathing. That's just my journey. Right. So what I was doing was then when I tongue blocked, it was all thin. I'm doing it lightly and without effort there, as in not even trying properly because I want to make it sound bad. It was just, and it was just like, well, that's not like what I just did puckering. I'm not a puckerer. And I was thinking, that's deep. I hate puckering. I don't pucker, right? And I know that's like an isolated bend. We all know it's easier just to put your mouth around a hole and bend it. It's easier to do that than it is to do a lick with a like. See that? What I'm doing there is hitting it straight off and releasing, or. So now to me, my half step on the 4 has the same depth and quality, or maybe even better, probably better, because my embouchure is tighter around the hole than it did have with my pucker. Right, that might have been a long way round. Yeah. Right, I'm going to give a practical something to practice. Right. Right, so when you're puckering, your mouth, is smaller. When you're tongue blocking, look, tongue block, hole 4. Pucker, hole 4. Even if it's fat lips, John Jindick, right? So with that in mind, it's more concentrated. There's more strength here. Yeah, there's more strength, more concentration in a smaller area. Yeah, like if you lift something with your forearm, like this, like a weightlifter, you've got more strength. If you lift something with your arm out like that, there's less strength because it's going across your arm. I hope that might help somebody in that thing. So right. See, I weren't no good at the whistling backwards thing because I could never whistle as a kid, and I can't whistle now. I do this. It's not even a whistle, right? So that didn't help me. It didn't help me one little bit. Thank you very much for those who say that whistling thing, right? But what helped me was this, right? like my journey of puckering was, people talking about pulling your tongue back, starting up there, tongue up there, drop it down. It's experimenting. When you're introduced to bending, you're experimenting because your mouth is different to mine. Everybody's mouth is different. Then they put different types of harmonicas in. There's, I don't know, there's 10, 15, 20 different types of harmonicas out there. Okay, so that is also presents differences. Okay, right. So we're all different. So the one thing that I did was I went, right, pucker. So he's talking throat bend, right? I've had debates with people. Let's debate this a little bit, right? I've had debates with people when I've talked throat bend in forums. They've said, no, it's not your throat. It's not your throat. It's your tongue. Yes, it is your tongue, but using the terminology of English or language, we're just emphasizing, that we're moving the energy from there to more back here. Yeah. Yes, there is something that goes on with the throat because I almost gurgle sometimes when I bend. And yes, it pulls the tongue back like this. So the tongue's engaged, everything's engaged. There isn't one bit of me that ain't engaged when I'm doing a harmonica. So it's not from here to there, that's it, simple as 2 steps. No, there's all different things going on. So what we're talking about is introducing you to the exploration of moving body parts that you didn't necessarily exercise before. A bit like when you started harmonica to start with. You started to do stuff you'd never done before. But he's talking throat. So I've been used to what's my tongue doing? What is my tongue doing? That's what I'd been used to. Okay, so have a go at this, right? Floor your tongue. Floor it. Keep it floored. Keep your tongue floored. I'm puckering now. I'm puckering. Yeah. Keep your tongue floored. There's like some, I don't know what you'd call it. I don't want to get it wrong now. Larynx or something in the back of your mouth. There's a cave. You can start to sort of manipulate. Also, the back of your tongue. So if your tongue is floored and you're starting to just it's almost like you're directing your mind to that part of your body. Yeah. But what you start to realize is, hold on a minute, your mind is yeah, you need to, like, when they call it muscle memory, it's like there's a mind inside your body parts, if that makes sense. And I guess in the beginning there won't be no ew, because you're like, what am I moving? Do you know what I mean? So for it to go ew, you've got to be able to go ew fast to then go ew to slow it down, if that makes sense, because you ain't got no control back there yet. One of the things that I did because of my it was a bit of a phobia, it was a bit of a mental block, right, is I moved onto the A harmonica, right? So if you know about your harmonicas, the reeds are longer on lower keys, okay? So that's a bit like a bend. The bend has more grace, okay? So you're moving body parts, which is like the tongue is big, yeah, but now you're starting to move body parts which aren't so big, and you're starting to move more of a mass that's in a smaller condensed area, right? So, like I said, like if like so it's basically, if I say move it, or if you say move that, move it, you're what'll happen is, so there's more grace there. There is more grace there. If you saying move it, get moving, right? It's like a boxer, a new boxer in a boxing ring. You shove a new boxer, right? This young kiddie in this boxing, bang, get in there, right? He's going to fight for his life and he's going to burn out quick. So your body parts moving quick. You're like this, woo, 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 going way. What you're doing is everything because you're doing it with this. Yeah, it's like there's no grace back there, yeah, because it needs a bit of time for you to learn to move those parts, yeah. Sorry about the length of this video, but this is really important stuff, especially for, right, you're really good at playing harmonica. Unlike me, right? Puckering, you're really good. You've been playing for years. You might be in a band, and you might be this, and you can bend, and you know, and all that, and you love it. People watch you, and you're good, and they say, "Well done, mate. You're good." You know. So how can you go back to being not very good all of a sudden? Do you know what I mean? So you need it. There's time. It's time. It takes time. What I would say is this whole maturing of that thing. It depends how much time you've got to give this. Obviously, the practice. It's like a fine wine. It takes time. I would say give it 6 months at least. So maybe what you could do, right? So what I'm saying is, right, floor the tongue. Maybe now move on to a lower key, something like an A. So floor the tongue. Try that whole, and watch your throat. What are you doing? Watch it. When I say watch it, how do you watch your throat? It's in the back of your head. But it's feeling, it's watching. What is going on? You know, in a quiet room, what is going on? Because what you're doing now is you've isolated your throat by flooring it. Remember, when you're tongue blocking, your throat is going to be isolated because it's going to be applied to the harp. Yeah. So you're then, because it's stuck to the harp, you've then got to start to use bits find the bits that are movable. Okay. So floor your tongue. Literally push your tongue all the way down to the floor. All the way down, and you hung it. Yeah, I can even almost talk. Hung it down. Right? What this will do to you, if you give this a go for like 3 or 4 minutes for about 3 days, is you'll start to sort of feel stuff moving, stuff changing, and then you're thinking, and you're drawing in from the belly. And you start to feel stuff moving that you didn't know you even had going on. Do you know what I mean? Right? And because it's the A harmonica has more grace. Yeah. Like hole 4 for me, right? You got that much space. Okay. So on an A harmonica, you've got that much space for grace. Yeah. So what I mean by that is, you know, when I went, yeah, so that's a journey, right? Well, on an A, it's almost like there's more space for grace, sort of thing. So there's that, right? So the other thing is you're yeah. So I found it easier. So you think about it, like, oh, you know what you're playing, you know what you can adapt to. The other thing is, you're puckering hole one. A lot of people just pucker hole one. I'm not saying I do all the time. Sometimes I switch tongue block hole one and two if I want to do it faster. But there's your hole one on a C harmonica. So now hole two. Now what I'm doing, right? Right, you can play a 2-hole draw, right? Pucker, tongue blocking, I gather, yeah? You've already got some scales going on. Major scale, just single notes, yeah? My tongue is on hole 1 and the wood. It's almost like I'm puckering, right? But my tongue is now on the wood. You imagine now I've moved from my tongue is floored and I'm puckering. Now, tongue over hole 1. That's how big my mouth is. It's almost like a pucker. That's what I'm trying to do, is just like get the mind over some barriers. Now, watch this hole 4. Now you're moving away from a pucker size. So what I'm saying is, right, hole 1, no, sorry, hole 2, you're more closer to what your pucker embouchure was like. Try it and try and activate those parts that you've been activating with your tongue floored with the pucker. Yeah, but just to sort of show off a little bit. There might be a slight move of my jaw there. Like then I made every effort to keep my jaw tight. What I've probably done is, right, intentionally using my mind and the effort, the type of meditating on the body parts, is I started with a great big sort of thing, to then beginning to use the parts of my tongue which are available whilst it's on the wood, whilst it's covering hole 1. That's my embouchure. Hole 2. Bearing in mind, let me repeat what I said earlier. This could take you 6 months to a year to ferment the depth of the tone. So hole 4. What? So I'm not going to go into every hole really, because this is just the beginning. Hole 4. Pucker. I hate puckering. Tongue block. for the tongue block, I believe this is where I've got, with through help of others, the mouth is almost closed. Yeah. Because there's less grace, it's a smaller reed. Longer reed. And it's just like when you was beginning puckering, what you're aiming for is just a shift in the tone, a shift in the sound, the pitch. Is it the pitch or the tone? A shift towards, right? And then you ferment it. Yeah. And so now you're starting to get your hold two. You're working on those parts that you didn't used to before, because before you might have moved your tongue around a bit more. Right, hole three. So now when you're doing hole three, you're moving everything across. So it's the same thing. You're applying the same thing. You're using them body parts. Embouchure's getting a little bit bigger, as in my mouth shape. If you watch this so far, if you're at this stage, I'm going to stop the video in a minute, right? You're a pucker, right? Go back to the pucker, floor the tongue, spend 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute for 3 or 4 days doing that. The other thing, so yeah, it is like a fine wine. It needs fermenting, right? The other thing is what you might want to do is not completely drop out the puckering. I guess if you're performing, then you got to do what you got to do. I don't know about that stuff, right? Well, I do know, like with guitar, I'm a four chord man, right? Capo on, use G, C, E, and D, right? At church, right? And say I've been practicing in another key, which uses the F and the, I don't know, right, other chords, bar chords. Sometimes I'm like, no, I got 20 minutes left. I'm just gonna whack the capo on and use those 4 chord shapes. That's what I gotta do. That is just what I gotta do. That's what I'm gonna do. It's easier, then it's less stress. But what I'd say is, when you're in the workhorse department, tongue blocking only, but maybe just on that one bend. Work on one bend at a time, maybe. This is what I've learned with Tomlin's course. He introduces one extra thing. There's probably a lot of extra things, but it's that, normally it's the bend that is the harder thing to really grapple with. So yeah, remember, it's fermenting it, it's strengthening it, it's yeah, and it takes time, and yeah, if you want to procure it for Friday night, then sorry, it's not going to happen. It takes time. It just takes time. But I think there's a strong principle in not doing the thing that you're good at. A bit like flooring that tongue. Yeah. Put down what you're good at whilst in practice, yeah, and only tongue block that bend or those few bends or whatever. Find a lick, and you know, also like there was a couple of times when, especially with my 4 bend, I've sent it to a few well-known people in a video or something. I go, what do you think of that? It's weak or whatever. Guess they're trying to encourage me. They've gone, it's a half step bend. And I'm like thinking, no man, this ain't good enough. This is like, it sounds rubbish. There's no, what I was really getting at is there's no real tone to it. It wasn't fat, a meaty tone. But what he was saying is, it's still a half step. I didn't say there was no tone. It wasn't fat. But that's why I felt so thin, because I didn't know what I was trying to get. And I was just basically saying, you know. But what he was saying was, it's a half step. So when I say it takes fermentation, it's the tone that takes fermenting. Yeah, it's that tone that you know you want because you've been doing it puckering. So in a psychological sense, yes, compare your half step tongue blocking to your pucker half step pucker, yeah, because you're trying to get that tone, that sound, that half step, whatever note that is. But don't do it in an analytical sense where, oh, this is now rubbish compared to that. Well, no, of course it's going to be rubbish, yeah, but it is what it is. And but in 6 months, if you work at it, it will be better than that because it's going to have the tone, the full fat, you know, relaxed tone. Right, I'm going to end it there. I hope that's helped somebody. If it doesn't, then let me know and we'll keep going. You know what I mean? Yes, if you watch my videos, you'll see some rough bending going on. And I've always wrestled with the nature of trying, and well, let's relax here. Let's just relax. Yeah? So you might sort of go, wow, I'm glad I don't sound like you. It's rough and it's, yes, yeah, I'm a bit rough around the edges, but yeah, yeah, there you go. God bless.